Welcome back to Your Average Witch, where every Tuesday we talk about witch life, witch stories, and sometimes a little witchcraft. Your Average Witch is brought to you by Crepuscular Conjuration. If you're looking for a fun community that has a bunch of witches in it who want to be your friend, come to facebook.com/groups/hivehouse. This week's going to be a little different. I'm in the last mad dash of Anahata's prep, getting myself and all the vending stuff ready to go. I've got to make that journey to Pennsylvania in about 4 days. And I decided to go back and share some of my favorite stories from the past 4 years. I think you'll remember these voices. We'll range from potatoes to Danny DeVito to the SATs. Now let's get to the stories. First up, Lera tells us a story about mistaken identity.
Please tell me a story that you love to tell.
Okay. So, a few years ago, just after I graduated college, I was renting a house with a couple of friends that I went to college with. And one of my roommates / friends and I were at Walmart, probably preparing for a night out or maybe like staying in and drinking. Either way, we were buying wine, like a lot of wine. And we were at the self-checkout at Walmart. And I didn't have my glasses on. That's a very important element to this story. And so, when you buy alcohol at Walmart, the associates come and card you. So this girl walks up to check my ID. And I don't have my glasses on. And she's got a t-shirt under her blue Walmart vest, which is zipped up. So I don't see the person on the shirt very clearly. But for some reason, I think it's Danny DeVito. And so me being me, I asked her, is that Danny DeVito on your shirt? I was thinking, oh, cool. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia shirt or something. And she looks at me and says, no, that's my sister. And all I can say is, oh. And my roommate has watched all this happen. She has been carded, rang up her shit, paid, has a bag in her hand, and she didn't stay for the fallout of this conversation. She was already halfway out the door because she heard every word and she wanted no part of the consequence of my mistake.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's a thing.
I applaud you and your bad vision. Being very close to being blind myself, I relate so hard.
I felt so bad. I felt so bad because
she wasn't dead. I hope her sister wasn't dead and it wasn't a memoriam shirt.
I think about that all the damn time. I think about it all the fucking time. I hope so too. I hope wherever this person is, the thing is, she was very nonchalant about all of this. There was no like visceral reaction. It was a very matter of fact response on her end. No, that's my sister.
Maybe.
And I'm
maybe
like, oh,
it really does look like Danny DeVito.
Maybe. I'm not. That's okay.
Oh my God.
Maybe she's heard it before. Maybe this is not the first time she's been asked if that was Danny DeVito on her shirt.
Oh my God, I can't.
I know there's a movie that somebody yells, Danny DeVito, is that you? Is that Mean Girls?
Probably. Oh my God, yeah, the kid, yeah. It sounds like that's something he would yell, yes. It sounds like a Damien line.
Was it Danny DeVito? It was someone. I feel like he yells, oh my God, Danny DeVito, I love your work. I feel if that's the right movie and the right character and the right actor that I'm thinking of, I had my mundane version that embarrassed the absolute shit out of me.
Next, Macy of the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour describes a visit from the Baba Yaga.
So someone that I deeply, deeply cared about had been wronged by just a fucking schmuck, man. You know, just a fucking,
douchebag.
And I was already mad about that. And I was already like, oh, just fucking over it. But I woke up that day and I was like, I need to cleanse this house. That was really where it started, but the problem was that I started this with a chip on my shoulder. Okay. But I did. And it was honestly the most incredible cleansing I've ever experienced because it lasted for hours. And like, I got up and it was just kind of like, sometimes I do wake up though with like this solemn call of let's get to work and we're doing magic this morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually in the morning.
I love those days.
Yeah. And it's like oh, okay. And so I got up and I just started readying everything and I didn't look anything up. I was just grabbing shit and I was like, I'm going to start doing a protection. I did elemental offerings on north, like east, southwest, like all the corners of the whole property. And like had offerings specific to each element in each one and like called elementals in when I was like preparing them. It was serious fucking business. And it was intense before it even started. Like even like, I don't know if you do deity work. Like I don't do deity work, but like elemental work, I guess kind of, the same big time, big powerful energy,
Yeah.
When you feel it blanket a room and you're like, oh, okay, you showed up. Like it was that, and I set up the corners and like, as I set them up, I was walking and like smoking with like juniper and sprinkling cascarilla. And I like walked it several times and then worked inward. And for the very first time though, not the very first time, but like intentionally called on a deity, that I do connect with. It was, I had the candle and everything and I set it up and I was like, for the inside of the house, I called and like sat and just kind of, if she wanted to come, I set out an offering for the Baba Yaga.
Oh.
And she's something I very much connect with her and, being in my own kind of hermity, swampy cottage in the woods. And I relate to her sense of how she handles shit. She's right down the middle and she'll help you if you want to help yourself. But if you don't, whatever, And I don't know, just in that time, I just knew like that was what needed to happen. And so I set her up a space I do a lot of my work in the dining room table and she had offerings that she could come. And I pretty much just, kind of said like, there's a space for you here. You can come and sit and you don't have to do anything at all. I'm just inviting you here to, break bread with me essentially. And I'm going to be doing this. If you feel the need to yield any assistance, you may do so. It was kind of like that. I'm not being like, hey, come here. I need you to help me, Baba Yaga. I was like, I'm not even going to go that way.
Help me carry this.
Yeah. It was a real like, you can come, have a snack. And if that's all you want to do, that's fine. But that was not all that she wanted to do because she showed up and it was like, I remember being like, almost like you got to like grip a wall, And so I put honestly, it was the Baba Yaga candle from Prairie Fire Herbal, which those candles are so fucking intense. Every candle every spell, anything I've done, ritual that I've done using one of those candles is just to 11. And I used the Baba Yaga and I put it in the very center, the heart of the house. And I started cleansing all the way out, like in an outward spiral, all the way out. And then this is when, and part of me wonders, if like the Baba Yaga, her energy showed up and is what made me, she was like my hype man. Like she's what made things go this way because she thinks that this is what needed to happen. Like she read my innermost desire and was like, you know what?
Oh.
This dude is an absolute just worm of a person. Let's do something about it. Like, I don't like to put the words in her mouth, but it felt like that. It was like I was cleansing the house, but at the same time, this just scrappy energy, like after she showed up was like, but you want to teach that fucker a lesson. It was just so weird. And I went with it. I went with it, and I went with it hard. And I wound up like, you know what? Yes. And so while I'm essentially outwardly binding this person with words I don't remember, but I just remember speaking and not stopping in unbroken speech for like an hour of just a bind. And a lot of it was just repeating the same thing over and over again. And like, I wound up getting like the piece of paper. I wrote the name. I wrapped it so tight 1,000,000 times in twine and then sealed that in wax the whole time, just being like, say it. And not like, I wish you harm or nothing like that, but like
well, that's not what binding is.
Yeah, it was just like I've had enough of you. It was what it was. It was a big, long thing of enough. I've had enough. And so then, and I was just going by pure instinct at this point. So I bound this thing up. And then I grabbed the little bundled up wax name and I just set out of my house and I started walking. So the way that my house is laid out is that it's set down in a valley and there's a very steep upward driveway. And so it's like you're in a bowl and it sometimes feels like even at the top of the driveway standing on the road, the sky curves over you like a wave. You know, you're kind of down in a hole, but across the road is just this scorching pasture land with cows in it. And so I get this name and the whole time I'm still saying my shit, you know, and every now and again, I feel like the Baba Yaga wanted to chime in because I wouldn't say things like through her, but I would just say things that I feel like her name would come up. It was weird, dude. It was so weird, but I was just channeling this bind and it was probably the most intense I've ever felt. And I just walked up the driveway barefooted, just doing my thing, get to the road. And I just flick that fucking thing into the pasture. And I don't know where it went. I didn't even look. I was like already turning around when I just flicked it, just like an absolute and a fuck off. And just walked down the driveway, feeling great, feeling good. And got back in the house and I left the candle and her altar going all day long. And I feel like she stayed around a long time. Like, and I didn't ever really truly ask anything of her, but I do sometimes feel that the Baba Yaga showed up to my house and helped me fuck shit up one day and encouraged it. And I've cherished that memory.
She's a rabble.
But like, dude, this dude's life has just blown up and not without his own doing. And, you know, and he's a really, you know, she's a real help yourself if you want to help yourself. But if you're going to keep digging a hole, I'm going to let you keep digging that hole and might help you keep digging it. That's like what's happening, dude. And so it's like, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. And I don't want to say that I fully regret it because I don't. But at the same time, again, I consider it an oversight.
Now we'll hear from Pam of Raven and Rogue as she tells us about a wild attempt at taking the SATs.
So most of my stories revolve around my notorious clumsiness. And it's like legendary, the clumsiness that I have. So when I was in high school and I was going to take, I think it was either the ACT or the SAT test. And I was going with one of my good friends, Andy. And like, we had to go to a different school. It was actually our rival high school. This was like after Catholic school. I went to Lafayette Senior High in St. Louis. It's awesome. Everybody in St. Louis always does this, like, where'd you go to high school question. I don't know why. I think it's like some sort of classist bullshit. But anyway, you got to do that question anyway. But so it was a rival high school. We were pissed off about that anyway. And then because we did like sports and stuff like that. And so I didn't know the layout of the school because I had only seen like the gym or like, you know, the football field and stuff like that. So we were like walking through like, you know, the innards of, you know, Marquette. And so they gave us all these instructions. Like they started splitting people up according to the first initial of their last name. And so my friend Andy and I, his started with a U. So of course, Andy, see you later, never again. And my last name, my maiden name starts with a B. So I was at the front of the thing. And I didn't realize that Andy still had a piece of paper that I needed that had like all of my check-in information or whatever. This is like pre-internet basically, or like at the time of the internet, the birth of the internet. So we didn't have all of these cool things that you guys have now. So So I panicked and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to take the test. They're not going to let me do this because I'm an idiot and Andy has my sheet. And then I go back, I'm backtracking with my poor directional skills, backtracked the wrong way, trying to figure out where I was supposed to go and trying to find Andy. I go through these double doors and I didn't realize that they go outside.
Oh no.
And they close and lock behind me.
Oh no.
So then I'm like, well, shit. So I go to walk around the school. The way that this evil, horrible school is built, it's like on a cliff. So it's like they have like this like rock quarry kind of bullshit that's like right up against the school. I think it's for like irrigation or some dumb whatever stuff like that. But it's not good for students that get lost. So there's like a cliff that has a bunch of rocks and like death and blah, blah, blah that way. And then this tiny little path of grass between the death cliff and the school. And so I'm like, I bet I can shimmy myself through that, and get to the parking lot. So I start kind of walking and shimmying and stuff like that. Well, when I first started doing it, before I hit this turn, it was just brick wall. It was fine. Then I turn and I go to the other part that I had to cross, and it's all glass windows, but they're not the kind of windows that open. They were just like solid pane glass. It was bullshit. No. So I'm walking through and I'm just slowly walking across, and I see all of these people, and I see Andy. I lock eyes with him, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm just slowly shooting across, and everybody's staring at me. No one's really saying anything. Nobody, like the adults aren't even acting like she needs help. They're just like, what's happening? And this went on for a while. Like, it took me, I want to say, like 5 minutes to get across this thing. So it was like 2 or 3 classrooms that are like, what the fuck is this kid doing? Why is she wearing such big pants? Because the big pants are ugly. Then the kicker. Okay, so I finally reached this part that has, again, my Voldemort, a chain link fence. So I'm bottom heavy. I don't do vertical things. Like, I don't jump. I don't leap. I'm not athletic. I did track for a little while. That was hilarious. And that lasted all of like a day. So this chain link fence, my Voldemort, I'm like, okay, I got to get over this because there's no gate, right? Because again, this school was built by a bunch of assholes. So I go to try to jump over the gate or jump over the fence. And my fucking belt loop, again, gets stuck on the goddamn chain link fence. And I'm hanging there like a big idiot, and I'm just kicking and stuff and trying to get myself loose. There are no adults. There's no people outside. I guarantee those people are still watching me from the classrooms, though, because it was still within eyesight. So can you imagine? Like, I heard later on that everybody was just like, he's like, what is wrong with you? Like, everybody thought you were just insane. And I was like, we didn't know if it was a bit, because I've always been like big into comedy and like SNL and stuff. He's like, were you doing a bit? And I was like, no, bro, it's not. Oh my God. So I finally, my belt loop thankfully ripped, which I cut all of my belt loops for the longest time because of this shit. I have belt loop anxiety. So I fall very ungracefully. And then I just run probably bow-leggedy weird to my car, and I sped off. So I've never taken the ACT or the SAT. So really, this is a long-winded way to say you don't need that to get into college. All you got to do is get stuck on a fence and get the pity of your peers to get into college. It's fine.
I can't deal with that.
So yeah, I've got a bunch of stories like that. I'm an unfortunate person. I'm a very strange, awkward person.
Macy's back again, this time with a close encounter with a wolf.
Because I have this thing, and it's very not good for me, instinct that when animals are in trouble, I'll just like run into danger. And then I always realize where I've put myself in the thick of it. And I'm like, this was a bad idea. And the same thing happened to where I wasn't even obligated to. It wasn't my job. I was a marketer. I ran out into the woods to try to find him. And so like fast forward to I'm standing alone in the woods, and I
as a small person,
as a small person that this wolf outweighed, and I just had this moment of like, oh, I've done better here. Like this is, but at the same time though, I was really, really connected to this animal, and I like set out a call. And I've done this a couple times, and I can't like do it all the time, but I did it when Jorah was missing and I knew he wasn't there. I like pushed out this big call, this energy, and I knew he was around. Like I knew that I needed to be there. And lo and behold, not long later, he comes out, and I was able to, he stayed like 50 yards away. And then I was so fucking scared the whole time. I was able to walk, and he followed me about 50 yards away, but stayed even until I got all the way back to his enclosure and was able to like get him back in. So it's like, I knew I was supposed to go out there, but that whole time my rational brain was screaming like, leave this to the keepers, just go inside. You have an office, you have a lock on the door, like, please go. And I didn't. And so that was just a really like spiritual experience that happened right at around like the first Witchy Bazaar. Like that was kind of when everything was happening the awakening, if you will.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah. And so it was very intense.
I remember going to the wolf rescue in Divide in Colorado.
Mm.
And it was like for Ken's birthday, and going up there, you're thinking, oh, we're going to go in with some wolves because we bought the bonus package.
Okay.
And you see the pictures. They're like big dogs. And then when you get there, they're freaking enormous.
It's humbling.
I was like, you could die here.
Absolutely. 100%.
But I wouldn't let myself think about it because I'm not trying to give out the death vibes when I'm with the wolf shoving his tongue down my throat.
Yeah.
Because apparently that's how they say, hey, I couldn't breathe, but I didn't want to offend him by pushing it off me.
Exactly. Yeah. No, they're incredible to look at, and they don't look out of their eyes the same way that dogs do. Like they do,
Nope.
But they don't. There's just something so much older looking out of that face to me. And like he wasn't an old wolf. I think he was only like 6 years old, but looking at him, it was like looking through the sands of time. It's hard to explain. He had these big blue eyes, and it was just intense. They're amazing creatures. The wolves, I think, were I don't want to say the most unsettling, but they were just the most.
Andrea of Appalachia is up next to tell us about a pigeon with really good aim.
Now, would you please tell me a story that you love to tell?
Okay, so back to validation, I could not think of a story that I tell all the time, namely because, as I mentioned earlier, I don't like to repeat myself. It's really arrogant, I know, but it just, I don't repeat myself a lot. So I was struggling, and last night I said, all right, universe, just freaking tell me a story that I should tell on this podcast tomorrow. I'm running out of time. And this gal who I have not talked to in years messages me on Facebook and says, here's a photo that reminded me of you in this picture that I remember of you as a kid. And I was like, this is so random. Like, she doesn't like any of my posts. She's a friend of my father, or she's the daughter of my father's best friend, but I really don't associate with her. We have nothing in common. And here she is with this message. Okay, universe, I hear you loud and clear. So the story I kind of want to tell is the magical tales of my father's blue van from the 90s.
That's already amazing.
It's one of these vans, like a work van. It has the big rolling door and there's nothing in the back. And looking back, there are just so many adventures. But this one story this gal had referenced, we were coming back from the Outer Banks, and there's no chairs in the back. And at this time, I had one other sibling, bunch of luggage, and my dad thought, all right, well, I'll just put folding lawn chairs in the back and the kids can sit on those for the 6-hour drive.
Wow.
So we're in traffic and this big 1970s station wagon slammed into the back of us. And so my chair flew back. And because people carried cameras all the time, way back when, my mother turned around and took snaps of it. So I have all these great pictures of my brother laughing. I'm on my back. My legs are in the air. So it was just like one example of this magical blue van experience. And it evolved over time. Eventually put in this big piece of plywood and attached some luxury chairs that like laid back. So when we took our long trips to Florida, we could lay in there, and he put in a VHS and TV combination in there.
Oh, y'all were looking fancy.
Oh yeah. I mean, we had no money. We were dirt poor. My parents traded for everything, but we had no idea that we were broke growing up. And it was really a magical experience. But another magical experience of the van was that we took a boat that my father had traded and gotten at some point to a local prominent river. And on the way back, they had the windows down, and this like pigeon flies in the window as we're passing under a bridge, smacks into my mother's face, flops in the back. It's on my foot, and I'm going, it's on my foot. It's on my foot. And my brother is crying next to me because he doesn't know what to do. It flies up onto my father's shoulder who's driving, and he just looks like a pirate, right? And he's trying to unroll his window because they're not with a button. You have to manually roll down the window with this bird on his shoulder, flies out the window. We're all sighing. My mom's like, oh my gosh, my face. I need an ice pack from the cooler. And we're all like taking this deep breath, and this car pulls up as we're driving, and he's like, you know, your bird just flew out the window, right? And we're like, it's not our pet. It's not our pet. So just lots of really magical experiences, from birds to car crashes where it's like, we were safe. This thing was a tank. You know, I have great moments of Bon Jovi playing in there, cranking me up and amping me up for softball games. It's just like the magic blue van. I miss that thing. And that is my story today.
That's my new favorite. That's my new favorite.
Now Charlie's here to tell us about a very special potato.
Please tell me a story about your first successful spell that made you think, holy shit, I am actually doing a thing.
Okay, it's a little sensitive, I think. Not sensitive. And I'm not going to say that I went I'm not going to say that I went like gray. This is nowhere near Macy's like Baba Yaga story, but like this is there was an influence that was causing negativity in my personal life. And some of the personal lives of people that I am close to and I love very much. And it was coming from a person. And I got very defensive, I think. It was the first time that I didn't just walk my house and, you know, flick whatever concoction I had made up. And I was protecting on a very spiritual level. This was the first time I was dealing with like a human being. And I just opened up my books and I was like, what do I do in this situation? So I did serious, big time, like warding for the first time. And I walked my property with like, I don't even remember what I used. I know like cayenne pepper was a part of it, you know, and I kind of very plainly spoke, I don't want this person coming here, you know, and I worked big time with like visualization and okay. I, not really fully knowing what was up, I made a dinner that night, being at that time pretty, like just fully wanted to be a kitchen witch. Like that was my label, you know? And I had done quite a bit of research on like, I don't know how to say this, like root vegetable, I guess like a poppet almost out of a potato, you know? And then you can, you know, it's like make the likeness of, you know, and then if you do certain things and you cook it and then you consume the food, like it's the protection from that person, you know, the whole spiel. Right. And I did it. And, I remember something happened and that person did not come over, when they had planned to. And that made me go, oh, shit. But it also made me wake up in the middle of the night, cold sweats, going, what did I do? Is this devil? What am I doing? Like, I really freaked out about it. I was like, am I toying with things I shouldn't be toying with? Like, I carved someone's likeness into a potato and ate it. Like, am I going to hell? You know, and it really freaked me out. So on one hand, it made me go, oh yeah, this is a thing. But on the other hand, it made me go, I need to be careful, you know? So, it's a story that still makes me a little itchy.
Next, cheese connoisseur Robin of Coffee and Cauldrons invites us to join her in a special way to eat cheese.
I'm telling this story, and if you listen to my podcast, you maybe have already heard it, because I'm pretty sure I brought it up on there once. I have to have, because so many people have roasted me about this story that I have to have. Either that or I did it on Twitch. I don't know. I told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. Okay, everybody's familiar with Baby Bell cheeses, right? We're all familiar
Yum.
with them, little red Baby Bell cheeses. Well, like most children in the 90s, I was so afraid of not getting enough milk in my body. Listen, if you grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about.
It does your body good.
Yeah, it was the milk mustache commercials. They were constantly telling you that you were calcium deficient. You needed milk.
You're going to fall down and your hips
You're
just going to
literally
explode.
going, listen, if you do not drink a whole milk glass every single day, your hips will explode into dust by the time you're 30. That was the propaganda we were fed in the 90s. Now, granted, it wasn't those exact words, but you know, if you were alive in the 90s at a cognitive level, you know what I'm talking about. Every bitch was like, every celebrity was on a Got Milk ad.
Oh my gosh.
And they'd be like, happy cows come from California. Anyway, maybe that's just a California ad. I don't know.
I vaguely remember it. And I'm from the East Coast, so
there
I
you go.
remember that.
Everyone was just so afraid of not getting enough calcium in their body because the big milk was working their propaganda. It worked. We bought so much milk. Anyway, one of the milk products that my mom kept in the fridge at all times was those Baby Bell cheeses. And she'd put like 5 of them in our lunches every day.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, listen, we were very afraid of milk not getting enough, as well as I'm now incredibly lactose intolerant.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyway, so when I was like 5 or 6, so I grew up in Sonoma County, which is just north of San Francisco. Like when I was little, I was in the Sonoma County area, and there's a lot of cheese, like dairy places where they make cheese. And my parents were really big on taking us places where things were made. And one of them was a dairy where cheese was made. And I learned about like cheese being put in like rinds, like brie. And you know, you can eat the rind of the cheese, right? Of brie. So my dumbass legitimately thought that the wax on the outside of Baby Bells you were supposed to eat. And this went on until I was like 14. I was eating cheese wax until I was like 14. And I had a sleepover with my friend. Shout out to Christina. Hope you're doing well, babe. Had a sleepover and I was eating my cheese wax. And she was like, girlfriend, what are you doing? And I was like, eating a delicious Baby Bell. Why do you ask? She's like, no, I can see that. Why are you eating the wax? And I was like, it's the cheese rind. And she's like, you're dumb as fuck. She's like, that is wax. She's like, there's a piece of paper. Did you eat the paper too? Girl, I ate the whole thing. I ate the whole damn thing. I ate the whole fucking thing to the point that, like, I've told this story before, and people roast me for it so badly.
Oh my God.
I'm not even kidding you. So, Baby Bell recently came out with a vegan Baby Bell.
Oh.
And I'm vegan, so it's dairy free. Comes in a little green wax flavor.
Huh.
And I posted something on Twitter like, my therapist will be hearing about this or something
no.
with like, and my fucking friend commented on it and goes, so you're telling me that she goes, you're telling me you want to know what green tastes like now. I was like, I will kill myself. So yeah, that is actually my 13th reason, is the fact that I was one of George Bush's children left behind, and I did eat the Baby Bell wax for a solid decade and a half. So, listen, guys, influencers are just like you. There's yeah. So I am going to eat the green wax. I do want to know what it tastes like, what the flavor is. I'm not above trying a little bit of wax. I've done it before for years. So, I wonder what green tastes like. I did. I ate the paper as well. The whole shebang. I was literally about to drive a car. That's how old I was when I found out that you do not eat the wax. First of all, I have a lot of questions. Where was my mom? Why did my mom just let me eat wax? She was just like, she's dumb as shit. Let her do it.
But I also have this vision of you like secretly nibbling little round cheese in a corner where nobody could see you. Listen, and that's why nobody said anything.
Listen, here's the deal. I think this is something a lot of people can relate to. I'm about to be really #relatable on Maine. I was raised by boomers. They did not pay attention to me at all. My ass was probably sat right next to them eating cheese, and my mom was just like, don't look at her.
What are you doing? Getting your calcium? Great.
My mom was just like, I don't know what she's doing. That's fucking crazy. But my stories are on the TV. Yeah. So.
Oh my God. Oh,
yeah.
Jesus H.
I love talking about the Baby Bell story because.
Holy shit.
When I tell you it was probably would have been an early indicator that I was going to be a George Bush child left behind, which I was. Shout out to 2005. Love to see it. Yeah, I fully failed that test. I did not know the difference between a noun and a verb. I was a George Bush child left behind. I love saying that at all chances I can get because I am an author. I'm a published author now, and I did not know what a noun or a verb was. I was like, couldn't tell you. I've never seen that man in my life. I don't know who verb is. I'm like, I don't know who verb is, but he sounds like a dick.
All right. Get my shit together.
So what I am saying is if I suddenly get an uptick of Baby Bell memes being thrown my way, just know that I will assault you. I'm just kidding. I won't. I told you this with the confidence that I know I'm going to get memes thrown at me, and that's fine. I ate wax. Who can blame you? I will say the wax was very soft and had no flavor to it. So maybe you guys should try it. Why don't we do like a little test? Everyone go try some Baby Bell cheese.
It seems like it would be very satisfying to chew.
Try it and let me know what you think. Instagram challenge: eat the Baby Bell wax.
There may be a video of me eventually of me biting into it.
Please, and tag me. We'll make it a trend. #Baby Bell challenge.
Oh no.
Get the vegan one too. You can try both flavors. Let me know how it is.
They have like 5 flavors. I'll get all the damn flavors.
No. I meant the wax color, not the cheese.
Oh, I thought they were all different colors. Isn't there
Are
a yellow
they?
one? I don't know. I haven't bought it in a long time, and I only go to Costco where they're coming.
Oh, I have a second funny, just little anecdote. They are in different colors. You're right. I just Googled it. There's black, red, maroon, blue, and yellow, and now green.
Fancy. Fucking fancy.
Well, I have only tried the red flavor, so I'm gonna have to try all the flavors now.
A buffet.
My husband is going to be like, what in the fuck is wrong with you? There was a purple flavor as well.
What?
Yeah. I don't know what the flavor of the actual cheese is. It's cheddar.
Huh.
Well, there
I
you
know
have
they
it.
have like a Gouda. That's the one I want.
They've
Isn't
got,
it yellow?
hold on. It's Bon Bell. Light
Oh, yeah, I
Gouda.
don't understand
Gouda's
that.
brown. Cheddar original. They've got, the cheddar used to be in yellow or purple, and now it's the other way around.
Huh.
So cheddar has switched colors. Wild times we're living in.
This isn't grape.
Wild. This is the worst grape product I've
Jeez.
ever had.
Finally, Macy wraps us up with a wild story about a dogfight. Don't worry, everybody's okay at the end.
Have I ever told you the story about how I almost had my arm broken trying to break up a dog fight?
Not
Did
to
I
my
tell that on the
recollection.
episode, or did I ever say that on a live? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's a stupid
No.
story. Okay. This is maybe my favorite story to tell. I don't even have to think. It's the one. So when I was in college, I lived in a rent house in a semi-sketch neighborhood. I wouldn't say fully sketch, but semi-sketch neighborhood. And it was one of those neighborhoods to where it was a circle. And so we were on the inside of the circle, which meant that our backyard shared a fence with the neighbors like on the other side of the circle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So and being a neighborhood of rent houses, it was a college town. There's just tons of turnover all of the time. So you never know who's going to like be your neighbor one month in like your backyard, shit like that. And so at the time I had Gizzy, my little red corgi, and Jorah. I had Jorah for about a year now. And he was with me. And we had a big backyard, kind of, and we lived in this house. Well, so we had these new neighbors show up, and they, in their backyard, put an actual, and I'm not like happy about it, like it's sad, but an actual fighter pit. And I mean, scarred up, everything. Like you could tell this was a fighting dog. And it was sharing a back fence with us. And I knew immediately that this was going to be a problem because like I let the dogs out and he was out and he was like trying to get through the fence. And he started digging like to get under the fence to get to my dogs. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And so I like went and got some landscaping timbers and like I like talked to the people and I was like, look, this is going to be a problem. Like you've got to figure out what to do about this. And of course they didn't. And so I do want to say the story does not end bad, but it sounds like it's gonna, but then it turns into absolute stupidity. So my roommate had a little Yorkie named Zeus that also lived with us. And so all three dogs were out in the backyard one day. And I was just kind of like in my room, and my room looked out into the backyard, and I start hearing like dogs going at it. And I look out the window, and this dog has dug its head under the fence and has the little Yorkie by the chest, but like got by his like chest muscles, and he won't let go. And he's like got his head, and Gizzy and Jorah are like biting this dog's head, trying to get him to let
Good
go.
for them.
Well, so I at the time was like dating this guy. I dated him for like 2 months, it's college. And he was over that day. And so I see this start happening and I just yell some sort of expletive noise to get everybody's attention that something was wrong. And so who was in the house at the time was me, the ex-boyfriend, and the co-owner of the dog, the boyfriend, not the girlfriend whose actual dog it was, but like he had the dog through extension,
Step parent.
Sure. Yes. And thankfully the dog's mother was not at home. And so we don't really know what to do, but we all just start heading to the backyard outside. We just run to this dog. And so luckily ex-boyfriend, semi-luckily and unluckily, ex-boyfriend has the good foresight to grab a broom on the way out. Just an aluminum broom. And so we get out there and we really don't know what to do about this situation because the dog is in like kill mode and won't let go. And for some reason, the boy that not the step parent, we'll call him the step parent. Okay. He lifts up the bottom of the fence. I just don't, I think it was panic.
Oh.
And so that allows the dog to pull the little dog onto its side of the fence. And this is what I was talking about earlier, like in danger moments. I just scaled the chain link fence, and I went and I grabbed the dog's neck, the big one. I grabbed its neck and tried to just like chokehold it. Something, it was bigger than I was, but it was just like, I wasn't even thinking. And that was the same thing in that moment with my arm around its neck. I was like, well, this was fucking stupid, And so then as, cause it was a stupid idea, boyfriend jumps the fence. And I like to think, because I just, because of what happened afterwards, I paint this in my mind, even though I don't think this happened at all, but I like to think he like scaled the fence and he landed in like an action hero pose, and and he rears back with all of his, he's got this broom, right? He rears back with all of his might and goes to hit this dog just to shock it but he misses and he breaks the whole broom over my forearm, like snaps it over my forearm, doesn't hit the dog. And I just make some sort of like noise and fall over, like just from the shockwaves of what just happened. So it's pure fucking pandemonium at this point. And I'm just sitting there on the ground, like with my arm, and he's trying to smack this dog, and somehow he lets go of Zeus. And so I grab Zeus with one fucking arm, but then the problem is I can't climb the fence because he deadened my arm. Mm-hmm. I couldn't climb the fence. And so I'm stuck with this dog, and I handed the dog to the step parent. And so then this boyfriend just comes, and it's like, it was just, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so he goes to push me over the fence, but he launches me over the fence, and I land again on said arm. And I'm so fucking pissed. So angry at this point. And so, I mean, the dust settles finally, and Zeus, we take him to the vet, and he's incredibly okay. It's amazing. And so it's like the dog just happened to bite him right in the chest. Where dogs have loose chest skin? Yeah. That's all it was. And so it's like, all he did was kind of like, because he bit him in that loose part, it just kind of jiggled around and it like tore some muscles, but there wasn't even like any blood hardly. But so we're at the vet's office, and I don't think I'm white from shock, but I am white from adrenaline and the worst goddamn pain in my left arm ever. And I am seething about it. And so I'm just sitting there, and I've got my arm, and I just had to look like hell on wheels, because the vet looks at me and is like, do you want some ice, or can we get you anything? We're the vet's office. I'm like, and so the vet gives me an ice pack, and I'm just sitting there fuming. And I later find out that it was pretty much, I got a bone bruise from that shit. And it's one of my favorite stories because it's just stupid. It's just everything about it is stupid. The actions, it was all a bad idea. But luckily, Zeus the Yorkie survived to live.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Average Witch. You can find us all around the internet on Instagram at Your Average Witch Podcast, Facebook.com/groups/Hivehouse, at www.youraverageWitch.com, and at your favorite podcast service. If you'd like to recommend someone for the podcast, like to be on it yourself, or if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, send an email to youraverageWitchPodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.